KubeCon's just over a week away. By this time next week, I'm going to be sitting in a hotel in San Diego, trying my hardest to unjet lag myself, getting ready for a week of absolute madness. I'm hoping that I'll have time at the conference to interview some people, to shoot some video, to show you guys what is going on there that you need to pay attention to. But honestly, I'm probably just going to be totally booked up helping Rancher with their booth. But for today, I'm doing chores. Very few people find Rancher with nothing. Those who do, who are starting out on their Kubernetes journey, are fortunate. Rancher makes a great, safe place to land after you dive off that Kubernetes cliff. But what about everybody else? What about the people who already have clusters, or the people who are using a different kind of provisioner to deploy their clusters? What does Rancher offer for them? So when you go to the Add Cluster screen in Rancher, there's the option for Import. If you click this, give it a name, and say OK or Next or whatever the button is, you'll be presented with three options. The first is a command that you run if you're using GKE. The last one is a command that you run if your Rancher server is using self-signed certs, because kubectl won't talk to an endpoint that doesn't have a real SSL certificate. The middle one, that's the Goldilocks one. The middle one, that's the Goldilocks one. That's the one that you run against a server with real certificates. It will install the Rancher agent into your cluster. It'll then connect back to Rancher. Rancher will provision it such that Rancher can control it via the Kubernetes API. So let's say you're doing something else. You provision with Terraform or Ansible or auto-scaling groups or shell scripts or Cloud Init, it doesn't really matter. If you've installed Kubernetes the hard way, then you know that before you can even get to installing the Kubernetes part, you've got to put all of this extra stuff on the host. You have to configure all of the networking stuff and the kubelet and the proxy, and then you can join the, and it's, no. So Rancher created a Kubernetes distribution called Rancher Kubernetes Engine. Now that in itself is not spectacular because today everybody has their own Kubernetes distribution. But what's awesome about RKE is that it runs all of Kubernetes in Docker containers. So now when you're doing your provisioning, the only thing that you have to put on the host is a supported version of Docker, and that's it. If you go to the Add Cluster screen and you click the Custom option, you'll be presented with a range of things, and ultimately it will end up giving you a Docker run command. That command with the token is unique to this specific cluster. So that means that you can put this at the end of whatever provisioner that you're using, and hosts that you provision will automatically join that cluster. Now you'll see that there are options for etcd, control plane, and worker. If you're using something like auto-scaling groups, you're not going to want to scale up etcd and control plane, so it makes sense to split these into different nodes. But then you're left with workers, and you can scale them up as much as you want. The custom option is probably the most flexible option, because while Rancher gives you the ability to do hosted Kubernetes, compute instances, importing clusters, everything that doesn't fit into one of those models fits into the custom model. So it's got you covered. So how do you know when to use a custom install versus when to use an import? I use an import when I'm using something like K3s because you can't currently provision that from within Rancher. Obviously, if you already have Kubernetes clusters floating around out there, then the imported mode is for you as well. I still use custom sometimes because I like to provision things with auto-scaling groups, or anytime that I want RKE deployed in an environment that I'm provisioning outside of Rancher. Really, the custom install is essentially the second half of a Rancher provisioned install, so now with node templates, it's almost the same level of effort if you have Rancher do the provisioning or if you choose to do it yourself. Custom and imported clusters are often overlooked, but they're one of the most powerful tools in the Rancher toolbox. They let you maintain the workflow that you're already using and add in the management opportunities that Rancher brings. If you're watching this in the future, welcome to Rancher. If you're watching this in the past, or in the week before KubeCon, not really sure if that counts as the past, come see me at KubeCon. I'll be at the Rancher booth, P19, P20. I'll be there pretty much every day, all day, helping Rancher with live streaming. I'd love to meet you. I'd love to hear what you would like me to make more videos about. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.